Look, January changed everything. It was the announcement that made the entire wrestling world stop.
Tonight, I officially announce my retirement from the WWE.
John Cena's retirement year. The last time is now. Immediately, the speculation exploded. Would he break Ric Flair's record? Would he win his 17th World Championship? What dream matches would we finally get? The possibilities felt endless. Fans were excited, optimistic, hopeful. We were so naive. While everyone focused on Cena, the women's division was quietly carrying the show. February 1st brought the Royal Rumble. 2 matches, 2 controversial winners, 2 different kinds of backlash. Going into the men's match, the heavy favorites were obvious, John Cena and CM Punk. Almost nobody seriously considered Jey Uso as a possible winner. So when Jey actually won, the crowd reaction was instantly mixed. Hardcore fans groaned. Even casual fans seemed confused. Here's the problem. This wasn't the same Jey Uso from the Bloodline era anymore. That version was layered, 3-dimensional, psychologically complex. Over time, he'd shifted into a much simpler, catchphrase-first character.
4 letters, 1 word. Jey!
Casual fans enjoyed his energy and crowd reactions, but many hardcore fans, and even a portion of casual viewers, had started turning against him. The win felt unearned to a significant portion of the audience, and now he was heading to WrestleMania as a World Heavyweight Championship challenger. The Women's Royal Rumble somehow went worse. Charlotte Flair won. Unlike Jey's win, where at least some casual fans stayed happy, Charlotte's victory was met with almost universal backlash. She'd been gone for a while, returned, and immediately got slotted back into the title picture. WWE had a chance to create a new star, to use that Rumble win to elevate someone who needed it. They chose the safest possible option, a mistake that would become a pattern. But buried in the Royal Rumble card was something special. Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens in a ladder match for the WWE Championship. One of the most brutally beautiful ladder wars of the entire year. High risk, bone-crushing, emotionally devastating. So many people wanted Kevin to win even though we all knew he wouldn't. Kevin Owens was having one of his best character runs in years. Desperate, furious, dangerous. His rivalry with Cody felt personal and real. This match proved that when WWE committed to strong storytelling, it still worked. The crowd was invested. The action delivered. Everything clicked. But then Kevin got injured after Elimination Chamber. And just like that, after delivering one of the year's best matches, after building incredible momentum, Kevin Owens suffered an injury that would sideline him for the rest of 2025. The guy who'd been on fire, the guy who felt like he could main event any show, was suddenly gone. March hits, and for one brief, beautiful moment, it felt like WWE remembered how to do this. March 1st, Toronto. Elimination Chamber 2025. This might have been the best PPV of the entire year. And looking back, it was the last great warning before everything went downhill. Both Elimination Chamber matches delivered. The Women's Chamber was chaotic in the best way. Constant movement, real urgency, and everyone feeling like a threat. Bianca Belair fought through the field and earned the win, a result that felt right and cleanly set the direction toward WrestleMania. The men's chamber was brutal and tense, built around survival rather than spectacle. Bodies kept dropping, the crowd stayed locked in, but the real story wasn't about the championship. It was about pure, unadulterated hatred between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. These two had been circling each other since the beginning of the year, but inside the chamber, the tension finally snapped. They weren't just trying to win, they were trying to hurt each other. The disdain was palpable in every strike. Seth gets eliminated. By the rules, he should have walked to the back. He should have accepted defeat. Instead, he snapped. Seth Rollins hates CM Punk so much that losing wasn't enough. He had to make sure Punk lost too. He refused to leave the cage, attacking Punk and brutally costing him the match. He essentially handed the win to John Cena just to ensure Punk didn't get it. Cena stood tall as the winner, securing his title shot, but everyone knew the real war had just begun between Rollins and Punk. For weeks, everyone expected the real story to be Cody Rhodes finally turning heel. The turn felt inevitable. We were all bracing for it.
Hey, Rock, go f*** yourself!
Instead, we got the unthinkable. John Cena turned heel. Even if you only watch WWE occasionally, this was the moment you noticed something had changed. One of the most viscerally shocking heel turns in modern WWE history. I'm serious, nobody expected it. Cena was in the middle of his retirement tour. No one believed he would ever turn heel at this stage of his career. The moment felt massive, genuinely surprising in an era where nothing surprises anymore. The Rock was involved too. The entire WWE marketing machine building towards something massive. Why did Cena turn? What was the Rock connection? Did he sell his soul for one final championship run? We believed all of this would build to a powerful WrestleMania story where everything would be explained. But there was already confusion creeping in. Why was Travis Scott suddenly part of this segment? It felt unnecessary, out of place. Quick reminder, if this is your kind of WWE content, feel free to subscribe. April arrives, WrestleMania 41, Las Vegas. This was supposed to be the peak, the culmination, the payoff. Instead, this became the point where 2025 divided into two halves, before WrestleMania and after WrestleMania. This should have been the peak. It became the moment WWE proved they had no idea what to do with all the momentum they'd built. The World Heavyweight Championship match saw Jey Uso defeat Gunther in the night's biggest upset. Jey forced the ring general to submit. On paper, this validated everything.
Jey Uso is going to WrestleMania! Me and you at WrestleMania. Let's go!
The underdog story, the crowd erupted. In that moment, it felt like maybe the doubts were wrong. Maybe this was the right call after all. Jacob Fatu defeated LA Knight for the US Championship, capturing his first singles gold in WWE. He looked like a future top star, but there was a frustration building in the crowd. LA Knight has stayed hot for years. He continues proving he belongs at the very top of the card, and once again, WWE pulled back instead of committing. The hesitation was starting to become a pattern. Tiffany Stratton retained her women's championship against Charlotte Flair in a decent match. Tiffany proved she could hang with the four horsewomen generation. The match legitimized Tiffany's reign, even if Charlotte's Rumble win still felt unnecessary. But then the triple threat arrives, and this is where WrestleMania actually delivered something special. Seth Rollins defeated Roman Reigns and CM Punk, the moment. The creative high point of WrestleMania, the most talked about match. The build had been very strong. Triple H set things up clearly from Elimination Chamber onward. Punk finally got his first true main event opportunity in WWE since his return, facing the two men who defined the company's direction. Roman trying to reclaim his dominance, Seth defending his position as the guy. And honestly, this was one of the best creative decisions WWE made all year. Paul Heyman turned, abandoning Punk and Roman to align with Seth. The crowd went insane. Seth pinned Roman. The Seth era officially began. For a brief, beautiful moment, everything felt right.
Are you kidding me? Oh my God!
Seth bringing in Braun Breaker for Vision felt exciting and fresh. Even Bronson Reed joining, while it could have been stronger, worked well enough. At that point, Seth truly felt like the right person to rely on. WWE had found their guy, and this is where Roman Reigns' 2025 really begins to make sense, by how little he was actually there. Roman was never the center of the year. He floated in and out. Long gaps, short appearances, big reactions, but no sustained presence. When he showed up, it felt important, and when he disappeared, the show just kept moving without him. In previous years, WWE revolved around Roman Reigns. In 2025, Roman revolved around WWE. That shift was subtle, but it mattered. By the end of the year, Roman felt less like the final boss and more like a special attraction. The Women's World Championship triple threat saw Iyo Sky defeat Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair in one of the most ferociously beautiful displays of athleticism and storytelling I've seen in wrestling. Maybe the best match of the year. This match solidified Iyo's status as the genius of the division. The storytelling, the athleticism, the raw emotion pouring out of every sequence. Everything clicked perfectly. Dominic Mysterio won the Intercontinental Championship in a fatal four-way, capturing his first singles title. The crowd was split. Some loved seeing him win, others weren't sure. But the reaction was real. Dominic had the crowd invested. And that's what mattered. This felt like the beginning of something. But then the main event hits. John Cena defeated Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship, 17th world title.
Cena has set the record!
Record-breaking. One of the weakest WrestleMania main events in years. Everyone expected The Rock to appear and explain everything. Why did Cena turn heel? What was The Rock connection?
I want your soul.
What did selling his soul actually mean? We'd been sold weeks of build-up. The promotional machine promised the great one. The Rock never showed up. And instead we got Travis Scott again.
Wait a minute!
A performance that felt completely disconnected from everything. It felt uncomfortably close to the confusion of WrestleMania 27. The Rock's absence left the entire heel turn story feeling empty and pointless. There was no explanation, no story, no payoff to anything WWE had been building since Elimination Chamber. This was the first big sign that WWE had completely lost control of Cena's farewell tour. Actually, the real peak of the post-Mania season didn't even happen on a PLE. It happened on the April 25th Smackdown, the Street Profits versus DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns in a TLC mat. Widely considered the TV match of the year, you had the technical genius of DIY and MCMG mixed with the Street Profits' raw power. The shot of Montez Ford diving through a table became the defining image of the spring. For a few months, the tag division was on fire before the Wyatt Six arrived in July and turned everything into a horror movie. Sadly, that momentum wouldn't last the whole year. But for those few months, SmackDown's tag division was must-see television. But here's the pattern starting to form. At this point, right after WrestleMania, WWE had everything. A hot women's division with incredible momentum, Seth Rollins firing on all cylinders, CM Punk's redemption arc building, John Cena's retirement generating massive interest, a tag team division that was delivering week after week, Dominic's IC title reign beginning, vision forming with real potential. But instead of committing to these storylines, WWE started hesitating, second-guessing. WWE stopped walking forward and started pacing in circles. From here on, 2025 became a year of damage control instead of storytelling. Backlash came and went without leaving a mark. The problem was becoming brutally clear. Cena's retirement tour was being wasted on nostalgia instead of storytelling. Matches kept happening because, wouldn't it be cool? Instead of, here's why this matters. WWE was burning through Cena's limited time on safe, forgettable matchups. Jey Uso's title reign continued, but the cracks were showing. The character still felt one-dimensional. The matches were fine, but something was missing. You could feel the audience starting to turn. Seth Rollins focused on building vision, but WWE never fully committed to fleshing it out. Promising, but underdeveloped. R-Truth was released, and the backlash was violent. We Want Truth chants hijacked Raw segments until it became a PR nightmare. The WWE universe kept pushing, and WWE actually listened. At Money in the Bank, Truth returned and attacked John Cena. The pop was massive, proof that fans can still change the product. It became one of the most satisfying moments of the entire year. But sadly, after that, they didn't give R-Truth enough screen time, and all that momentum evaporated. And this show mattered for multiple reasons. Seth Rollins won the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. The crowd erupted. After his WrestleMania victory, Seth now had the briefcase, a guaranteed championship opportunity he could cash in whenever he wanted. The Seth era was getting even more interesting. While the main event scene was struggling, the midcard actually started to thrive. Becky Lynch won the Intercontinental Championship from Lyra Valkyria, and this match saved her career trajectory. You could immediately feel the shift. Becky had found something new, something sharper. From this point forward, her character work became phenomenal. The tag match on this card, Cody and Jey versus Cena and Logan Paul, wasted precious Cena retirement minutes. Night of Champions hits. Cody versus Randy Orton was forgettable. But wait, this should have been a big deal. Instead, Orton felt like a placeholder. No real story, just these two are friends who respect each other. It was fine, just fine, and that was the problem. Meanwhile, Drew McIntyre was lurking in the background, building momentum, proving week after week that he deserved more chances. His promos were fire. His matches delivered. Cena versus Punk felt rushed, hollow, underwhelming. These are two of Cena's greatest rivals, and somehow WWE made their match forgettable. No meaningful build, no story explaining why this match mattered for Cena's farewell. It just happened, and then it was over. Jade Cargill versus Asuka happened. June ended with Gunther defeating Jey Uso to reclaim the World Heavyweight Championship. The reign was over. Looking back, the Jey experiment didn't work the way WWE hoped, and by the end, even casual fans seemed ready to move on. We hit the summer, and in a year that felt increasingly directionless, increasingly frustrating, one thing stayed consistently strong. July brought us WWE Evolution 2025, and this became the best PPV of the entire year. Becky versus Bayley versus Lyra for the Intercontinental Championship was excellent. Great storytelling, strong performances. Becky's new character was already paying dividends. But the real shock came with Iyo Sky losing the Women's World Championship to Naomi, who cashed in her Money in the Bank contract mid-match. Absolutely nobody saw it coming. She won the title and the crowd exploded. After her character change earlier in the year, she absolutely deserved this moment. The surprise cash-in was perfectly executed, one of the best women's division moments of the entire year. Stephanie Vaquer won the 15-woman Battle Royal, marking the beginning of the Stephanie era. WWE was finally positioning international stars for major pushes, and this felt like the right move. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss had formed a tag team earlier in the summer, and that pairing completely reshaped Charlotte's character. She became more natural, more likable, and most importantly, she wasn't stuck in the title picture constantly. That made the women's division healthier overall. You probably felt this even if you didn't analyze it. The women's division in 2025 was becoming something special. Starting with the WrestleMania triple threat, continuing through Evolution 2, the division was delivering match after match, moment after moment. SummerSlam arrived as the first strong PLE we'd gotten since Elimination Chamber, and it gave us one of the year's most important storylines. CM Punk defeated Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship in a match that was an absolute clinic. A masterclass in storytelling, brutality, and technical precision that left the crowd breathless. Huge moment. The crowd erupted. After everything Punk had been through, the comeback, the injuries, the doubts, the rivalry with Drew McIntyre that was one of the best feuds in recent memory, getting his first main event at WrestleMania only to fall short, he finally had the championship. Then, moments after Punk's victory, Seth Rollins, wait, what? You have to remember, Seth had been written off TV weeks earlier. He was selling a severe knee injury, and every insider report said he was out until at least Survivor Series. We all thought Punk was safe. We thought the night was over. Instead, Seth sprinted down the ramp, moving perfectly fine, and cashed in his Money in the Bank contract. Punk was devastated. Seth stole the championship in a repeat of his WrestleMania 31 heist of the century. One of the most genuinely shocking moments in recent WWE history, surprising in an era where everything gets reported early. One of the year's best sequences. The crowd went absolutely insane. The Rollins-Punk rivalry intensified. What had been brewing since the Royal Rumble, what had exploded at WrestleMania, was now personal in a completely different way. Seth had robbed Punk of his moment. Again, the character work from both men in the following weeks was exceptional. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso reunited to defeat the Vision in a tag match. The original Bloodline members fending off the new threat. Bloodline nostalgia worked. The crowd ate it up, but something shocking happened at SummerSlam, with almost no explanation or emotional logic.
The day that John Cena came back!
John Cena abruptly turned babyface again. The story kept resetting instead of moving. Fans got no reason for why he changed. He just suddenly dropped the desperate heel persona. This shift led into his match against Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship.
John Cena away one more time with a crossroads to Cena. Cody Rhodes!
Cody reclaimed his championship, rectifying the WrestleMania disaster. But when Cena shook Rhodes' hand post-match, it felt hollow, because there was no journey that led to it. Instead of a realization or an arc, the turn felt rushed, sudden, and empty. Cody had the title back, and a new challenger emerged, Drew McIntyre. Drew had been building momentum all year. The feud between Cody and Drew started heating up, and unlike so many other programs in 2025, this one felt earned. Drew's frustration was real. His claim to a championship opportunity was legitimate. The story made sense. Dominic Mysterio retained his Intercontinental Championship against AJ Styles in a massive career-defining win over the legendary Styles. Their rivalry was fun to watch on television. Dominic was steadily growing into something more than just a hated heel. The crowd reactions were starting to shift. Something interesting was happening with his character. Sadly, Naomi had to relinquish the Women's World Championship due to personal circumstances.
I'm gonna leave my title here, and I'm gonna give you helpers 9 months and some change to do whatever you want to do with my title.
The division lost a great champion, but the momentum stayed strong. If you did not follow weekly TV, this part matters for one reason. WWE briefly remembered how to make mid-card titles feel important again. August 30th, Sami Zayn captured the United States Championship and immediately started an open challenge series. Week after week, Sami defended against everyone. Rising stars, veterans, surprise challengers. He was eventually defeated by Ilya Dragunov, who brought a brutal intensity that turned the mid-card matches into absolute wars. Both runs reminded everyone that the mid-card titles can still matter when WWE actually cares about them. At this point, WWE had already chosen what kind of year 2025 would be. They had the tools, Seth's consistency, Punk's comeback, the women's division firing on all cylinders, Dominic's evolution, Cody versus Drew building naturally, but they kept second-guessing themselves. The pattern was set. By the time we reached the fall, the momentum had noticeably stalled. Clash in Paris was saved by the French crowd, who elevated this show higher than it deserved. The card itself was nothing special. John Cena versus Logan Paul felt unnecessary. Another unwanted match when Cena didn't have enough time left in his career to waste on random opponents. The main event Fatal 4-Way for the World Heavyweight Championship saw Seth Rollins remain champion. Seth stayed a consistent performer all year, one of the most reliable constants WWE had. Nothing memorable came from this show overall. WrestlePalooza became one of the weakest PLEs of the year.
This is WrestlePalooza.
But it had a few bright spots. Stephanie Vaquer won the Women's World Championship, which had been vacated by Naomi. This confirmed Stephanie as the new top star of Raw. WWE needed to push new stars instead of relying on wrestlers over 40, and Stephanie's championship win showed they can make the right decision when they choose to. The question is why they kept hesitating everywhere else. AJ Lee returned to the ring. Her comeback felt special, even if the mixed tag match with CM Punk and AJ versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch dragged on too long at almost 30 minutes. Meanwhile, Cody finally got his program with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre continued proving he deserves more chances. His work over the last 2 to 3 years has been amazing. His rivalry with CM Punk in the year was one of the best in recent memory. Drew really looks like a guy who should be getting major opportunities. The feud that had been building since summer finally exploded. These two tore into each other with an intensity that the Cody versus Orton match desperately lacked. This felt personal, earned, real. Then Brock Lesnar versus John Cena happened. This was a baffling creative choice. A sub 9-minute squash match where Lesnar dismantled Cena. In a retirement year, using a legend to squash another legend felt like a massive misuse of resources, and it left the crowd deflated. Crown Jewel gave us Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes for the Crown Jewel Championship. Strong build going in. Seth's character work was great, and the match played out as a strong main event, even though the crown jewel titles were still pretty meaningless. Stephanie Vaquer defeating Tiffany Stratton in the women's crown jewel championship match surprised fans. Good result. Bronson Reed defeated Roman Reigns in a massive upset. Shocking to see Reed positioned as a top-tier threat. But the real highlight of the night was John Cena versus AJ Styles. This match was bonkers. Pure, beautiful fan service. They paid homage to a vast array of wrestlers throughout the match. It wasn't a technical masterpiece. It didn't need to be. This was exactly what fans wanted from Cena's retirement tour. I loved their rivalry back in 2016, so seeing this match here felt special. With not much build, WWE still delivered exactly the kind of moment Cena's final run should have been full of. A celebration of his legacy through meaningful, crowd-pleasing matchups. Unfortunately, WWE never leaned into that idea the way they should have. November brought us Saturday night's main event with major championship changes. Seth Rollins was stripped of the World Heavyweight Championship due to a storyline injury, leaving the title vacant. The championship was up for grabs, and the match came down to CM Punk versus Jey Uso. CM Punk defeated Jey to win the vacant World Heavyweight Championship. After 14 years of fighting to prove himself, CM Punk finally became the guy. The crowd exploded. Punk now stood as the face of the company. This was the culmination of everything. The WrestleMania triple threat where he fell short, the clinic against Gunther at SummerSlam, the robbery by Seth moments later, the rivalry with Drew that elevated both of them. Punk's 2025 was a journey, and by the end of it, there was no question left. He's the guy. Jade Cargill finally won the WWE Women's Championship from Tiffany Stratton after her heel turn. Jade's title win made sense, but her appearances remained limited. On November 10th Raw,
I'm John Cena. This is Boston, Massachusetts. Tonight, you don't have a chance. Tonight, I am invincible. Because if your next are to try to pick a fight with me, I promise tonight you will lose.
John Cena defeated Dominic Mysterio to win the WWE Intercontinental Championship. This made Cena a Grand Slam champion, a great feel-good moment. His reign was designed to be short-lived, setting up what everyone assumed would be a passing of the torch moment at Survivor Series. November 29th, San Diego, Survivor Series, War Games. First Survivor Series held in an MLB stadium. Major star power on paper. Huge potential. Reality? Flat. The men's War Games match was a letdown. The match felt safe, boring, listless. The live crowd seemed reasonably entertained, but TV viewers felt let down compared to what the match promised. The ending tried to set up a mystery man angle, but WWE waited way too long to reveal his identity, and the intrigue died before it even started. John Cena defended his Intercontinental Championship against Dominic Mysterio, and Dominic won. Liv Morgan returned during this match and helped Dominic secure the victory. This was the definitive rub of Cena's retirement tour. Dominic regained the IC title. He evolved from being one of the most hated figures on the roster into someone the crowd genuinely supported, slowly developing into a modern reflection of Eddie Guerrero. The Women's War Games was forgettable overall. Slow, plodding, lacking anything truly noteworthy. War Games had massive star power, but nothing good came out of the show aside from Dominic's win. What should have been one of the biggest highlights of the year turned into another squandered opportunity. The December Saturday night's main event showcased NXT talent, which was good to see. Cena wanted to give opportunities to rising stars, and WWE delivered on that promise. John Cena versus Gunther arrived. Cena's retirement match. Gunther won in a highly controversial ending. Personally, I think Gunther winning made sense. It was the right call. The real problem was the complete lack of proper storytelling. Cena barely showed up properly before the match. There was minimal interaction, almost no meaningful build-up. WWE could have told a powerful story here. We got barely any build in a retirement bout that failed to land the way it should have. The greatest storyteller in wrestling history left the business without a story to tell.
WWE failed to tell Cena's story, but I didn't. Watch his full career retrospective right here. And if you want to know if Marvel is making the same mistakes as WWE, check out my breakdown on our second channel right here.